Good evening and welcome to Cherries Red Army and our first Premier League away match preview. Bournemouth taking on Man City at the Etihad. It's going to be a tough one. But we're going to have a great show. Please do subscribe if you are new to the channel. Also, let us know now who's currently joining us on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, also let us know you are here. But pop onto YouTube. That's the best place to watch us in the next hour. And of course, if you weren't able to watch this video live, do let us know your thoughts in the comments. And this video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors. This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home? Or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. That interactive chat is open for you then. Interact with both sets of fans. Let's keep it fair, but let's have a bit of fun. So Scott Parker takes on Pep Guardiola. Manchester City are the champions. We haven't got a great record against them. Can we do something on Saturday? We've got guests from both fans and we've got a friend of the channel, journalist from The Athletic. Let's get into it.
Cheeky one, square, and
Welcome to our guest this evening. Saw him on Saturday. We got the win. Matt Davies, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, Kirk. Obviously, pleasure to see you on Saturday. Pleasure to be at the game. Pleasure to be here tonight.
Brilliant, fantastic. Also looking forward to speaking to this guy again. First time this season. Hopefully many more times we'll see him on. It's Ahmed Shubal from The Athletic. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me on, man. Pleasure as always.
Going to be an interesting hour. Our opposition guest, thank you for coming on, is JSGC from the Man City fan channel. How you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you? And thanks for having me on.
That's fine. I'm going to call you Jay from here on in. You said that's
No
okay
problem.
beforehand. So tell us a little bit about the YouTube channel before we get stuck into this match and if you've got any content over the weekend.
YouTube channel, been doing it now since late 2016. Been covering all things Manchester City from there on out. So just in general, just tend to do previews, reviews. Since the first lockdown, been adapted into live streams as well. Just started to get back into match vlogs and just covering all things Manchester City news, transfer news, and just all things in general content on YouTube, doing things daily.
Fantastic. And Jay's details are in the description, so check him out this weekend. We've also got people joining us live. We've got Sammy, Nell, Bournemouth fan. Chris is joining us. John, he's behind the scenes at the moment. He'll be with us later on in the second half of the show. We've got Archie, got Mark Singleton, Gene, I think's from the US, Daniel Chase, how are you? Paul Wright. Layla's with us, and anyone else joining us, let us know in the chat. Let's get stuck into Manchester City versus AFC Bournemouth. Straight to you, Jay. Pep Guardiola, 7th season in charge of Manchester City, won something like 261 games out of 333 that he's managed. You must have been very confident winning the league last season going into that fixture on Sunday. It was a 2-0 win against West Ham. And Erling Haaland put his 2-yard miss in the Community Shield behind him to score 2 goals.
Firstly, Pep Guardiola, what a manager. I think you're going to have your work cut out in being able to get your heads around just how technically gifted Pep is. And what works really well is just how well adapted our team have become to his tactics. He's always looking to adapt. You'll notice if you're watching the game on Saturday that we do tend to work with several different formations at any one point during the game. One thing I found very interesting from that West Ham game was City were trialling a little bit of a new formation. It was playing 2 at the back, so that was Ruben Diaz and Nathan Aké, and then we moved 3 into midfield. So it was Kyle Walker on the right-hand side, Rodri was dropping deeper, acting as the defensive midfielder, and João Cancelo was occupying on the left-hand side. So it can revert into a back 5 if we put onto the back foot. West Ham didn't really put us onto the back foot, so it'll be interesting to see if Bournemouth can do that. So it's just to help Manchester City in the middle to be able to push forward. It was allowing Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne to be able to get forward and create, and then obviously having the reliability of Erling Haaland up top to obviously, like you say, get over his Community Shield. I don't think he had a very good game overall. Be able to put that behind him and bag a couple of goals, and it'll be interesting to see how your defence managed to adapt and deal with the threat of Erling Haaland, because it's nice that we can now put some balls into the box. We've got a striker that's 6'4". He's good in the air, he's good with his feet, and he's quick and powerful as well. So he's going to be a right handful for not just Bournemouth, but for every single Premier League team that we face this season.
Sounds scary, Matt. And it's going to be a big game for us on Saturday. But Haaland did get 2 goals. He's going to get plenty of goals in the Premier League. He proved he can do it in other leagues. And he's going to get plenty of chances playing for Manchester City.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it was it's been a little bit of a transition, has it, with Raheem Sterling, coming out of the team and being successful for so long in that City side, play into a particular style, and a lot of the time, like you say, not playing with a number 9 as such. Didn't really need to, with all the quality that City have got in that final third. A little bit different with Haaland coming in. He's a bit more of a classic number 9, so to speak. So you've got a bit more of a focal point, maybe some adaptations and some flexibility to go through there. But and that was the interesting thing for me at the game at West Ham on Sunday. It was about how City were going to approach that and how they were going to adapt to that. And I think they answered those questions really on the pitch, didn't they? And Haaland certainly did. We thought that maybe it might take him a little bit of time personally to adapt to the Premier League and to adjust. But he soon showed us, after maybe missing a couple of opportunities, that he's not going to have any trouble on that side of things, I don't think. And he's obviously a top quality striker, one of the best in the world at this point in time. And you can go through that City squad and say the same about so many of their players. So it's going to be a massive task and challenge for Bournemouth on Saturday. It always has been, and it always will be. But I think all we can do really is go there with a positive frame of mind after our own performance and our own start to the season, and rely on Scott Parker to set us up the best way that we can. And all we ask as supporters really is that we give 100%, we stay disciplined, we stay organised, and we leave nothing out on the pitch and give it our all and see where that gets us really.
Ahmed, you probably had more than one eye on this game, knowing it was Bournemouth's next game, but I'm not surprised to see Haaland hit the back of the net, and Pep Guardiola is going to have probably another successful season, and he looks like he's almost building another new team.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit scary when the top 2 teams in the Premier League, Liverpool and City, who are already head and shoulders above the rest, signed to the most in demand, dangerous in terms of their potential strikers in world football, in Darwin Núñez and Erling Haaland. We were, I guess, a lot of people who watched the Premier League last season were questioning, every time City played bad, you have to count to 30 seconds and someone will be like, oh, City need a striker, don't they? And now they finally have the striker to base all of their attacks around. And it is quite scary. But I think I'll push back on a lot of the deserved love that Erling Haaland gets, particularly when it comes to Bournemouth, because we saw in the second goal he scored against West Ham, similar to a lot of the goals he's scoring in Bundesliga, there's a lot of space in behind. It's also interesting, we were going on about our centre-back shortage, and West Ham have a centre-back shortage of their own. They had a centre-defensive partnership of Kazuma, who's obviously their best centre-back, and Ben Johnson, who's normally a right-sided sort of a right-back. So playing him in the centre-half role, coping against Erling Haaland would have been a shock to the system for anyone, but for him, who's not normally his strongest position, I think that was also a caveat to have as well. And Bournemouth, particularly this season, we've seen Scott Parker playing his 5-3-2. They're a lot deeper sitting, so that space in behind isn't going to be there. But what that does mean is that the midfielders have the space, in the final third and generally in Bournemouth's half, to just pick those passes and bide their time on the ball. There's going to be a lot of you're going to see the a cluster of 10 outfield players in Bournemouth half, maybe one Kiefer Moore stranded in the centre circle for the majority of the game. And Bournemouth are going to really have to pick their moments because City are absolutely ruthless in possession.
Yeah, we'll find out what that predicted 11 is a little bit later. Now, AFC Bournemouth, Matt, our lineup came out at 2 p.m. We're all a little bit stunned in the 1910 when we saw the likes of Ben Pearson instead of Lewis Cook. Scott Parker did a job, though, on Steven Gerrard. What a day. Great result. Really important we got something on the board, knowing that we've got the likes of City, Arsenal and Liverpool to come. AFC Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 0. Great day on Saturday.
Yeah, look, before the game, I was guilty of it myself. I came on the channel here on the vlog and maybe was a little bit negative because, for many reasons. The first of which, firstly, I'd had a couple of beers and I was probably getting a little bit carried away when I saw the team sheet. But really, you looked at that team sheet and you thought, well, where has that come from? Ben Pearson's in. I've got nothing. Ben Pearson for me is probably arguably the best holding midfielder in the Championship, and I've got no issue at all about him stepping up to the Premier League and doing the job that he did on Saturday. It's just the fact that he'd been out of the team for so long. So not only was Scott Parker going with a new formation, he was bringing players in that haven't really been part of it, have been bit parts around the squad for so long. That compared with the fact that we're making such a leap up in terms of the golfing class and the looking at the Aston Villa squad and the opposition that we were going to face, you can forgive us really for having a little bit of negativity pre-match, but they proved us wrong, and it was fantastic to see. I mean, the one thing that I thought that would give us an edge against Villa is our effort, our commitment, our organisation, snapping into challenges, not giving them a moment's peace on the ball. Obviously, we've got a tight stadium, getting the crowd on side, getting them behind us, and just unsettling their team really. And I thought we did that from the off. Obviously, got the early goal, which was crucial. I think that was a big moment for us. It gave us a platform. It gave us not only something to hang on to, but it gave us encouragement. It gave us belief. It got the crowd on side. And the effort, the commitment, throwing themselves in front of challenges, throwing themselves in front of balls, and blocking and defending for their lives, and the organisation, the communication out on the field from 1 to 11 was nothing short of phenomenal, really. And I think Aston Villa genuinely struggled to live with it. On paper, a much better side in terms of technical ability, but the likes of Philippe Coutinho, I don't remember him having a sniff, to be honest, and I don't really remember Villa threatening us too much, and that was testament to our performance. And defensively, it was phenomenal, and we picked our moments on the break, to be able to wrap it up and get the second goal, which was the sucker punch, the killer goal. It just couldn't have gone any better on the day for us, really.
Jay, now both teams weren't playing on the same day, so we're on the Saturday, you're on the Sunday. You were probably focusing on West Ham initially, but you might have had an eye on Bournemouth. Were you surprised to see the Cherries get off to a winning start in the Premier League with a 2-0 win against Aston Villa?
I wasn't surprised. A home game, I think home games are very crucial when you're a newly promoted team to the Premier League. And I think it's very important that you always get off to a good start. So the fact that you managed to get out there, dig deep and get what I regard as a really good victory at home against a decent Aston Villa side really sets you up well for the season. So no surprise to me that you managed to come out and win the game. And I'm actually genuinely looking forward to seeing how Bournemouth perform throughout the season. I do like Bournemouth. I think they play a good style of football. They like to move the ball a lot. They're a very organised, well-drilled team. And I do think that if you can accumulate and get off to a good start over the first month or two and accumulate as much points as possible, may just give you every fighting chance of being able to stay into the Premier League. And Aston Villa, to me, they're a team that are probably going to be sitting around mid-table. So the fact that you've managed to pick up 3 points there and get a comfortable victory just gives you that little bit of an edge now going forward and give you that confidence because you head into the City game, I imagine, with zero expectation other than, as was said before, that you just want Bournemouth to turn up. You want to give 100% on the pitch and really show the attitude that they're going to try and pick up what could potentially be a massive point or even a victory. I would say that for Bournemouth, their best chance playing against City at the Etihad would be for you to have a go at us, because if you're going to sit there and try and absorb Manchester City for 90 minutes and you end up letting City have 70-80% of the ball, then City have the quality everywhere on the pitch. We spoke about Erling Haaland. We've got players like Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Riyad Mahrez. These are all other quality players in and around that, if given half a yard or any bit of space, will capitalise upon that. And so I just think the best route for Bournemouth to get something from this game is to have a good pop. I think the first 10 minutes of the game is going to be very important. And for the Bournemouth perspective, I'd be trying to force a goal, try and get that first goal, because I do find that if Man City are allowed to get on top and find that first goal, we're a very difficult team to be able to break down and get anything from the game. Often City, they find the first goal, they'll find that second goal, they'll find that third, they'll find that fourth, and it's almost robotic. And so it becomes very difficult to play against. Mikel Antonio's already spoken about just how good City are on the ball. It's just so difficult to get the ball off them and be able to muster anything up. So I'd say that if you want to capitalise on City, then right from the off is probably the best chance of doing so.
Now, Ahmed, focusing on that Bournemouth game for you against Aston Villa, there was a couple of players where we were sorting out some plane tickets from South America. Well, they weren't based in South America, but we know that we were looking for a goalkeeper and a defender. It was too soon for them on Saturday, but we've had discussions over Twitter about whether a 3 is going to work for Bournemouth. I think we can have some good days with it. We'll talk a little bit later. I think there'll be some tough days with it as well, but it was a back 3. It pretty much went perfectly. And you've got the likes of Chris Mepham, who through tough times comes back and proves that on the right day can be an absolute brilliant defender. Will he play all season? Probably not, but he can add value to this team.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he's definitely proved to be one of the most reliable, dutiful players for Bournemouth. And it's difficult because he's on the fringes. As soon as Bournemouth sign a player or a player returns fit, it's almost normal service resumed, and Mepham sometimes misses out on the entire squad as a result. But when he comes in, he puts in a shift. And we sometimes say that that's an expression that we use when someone tries hard and doesn't fulfill their role very well. But he was very, very good, particularly. I was quite surprised to see him in the center of the back 3, because that's a position, particularly in Parker's system, that sees most of the ball. Mepham completed the most passes, took the most touches of any Bournemouth player on against Aston Villa. And when Jefferson Lerma was named in the starting 11, like you guys, I was quite surprised because I thought he'd be in the center of the back 3, because he's normally a midfielder, comfortable in possession. But the other side of that, playing in the middle of the back 3, is that you have to be very sort of aggressive and tenacious, kind of set the tone with your defensive actions, know when to go to ground. And those are kind of defensive skills that I don't think Lerma really has to the same degree as Mepham. And he showed that with vital clearances and blocks. I think he put his body on the line for one Aston Villa chance, and he ended up getting some treatment and soldiered on towards the end. But that just, it typifies the man, really. He's put in a phenomenal performance. I think Parker said in his press conference today that the City game comes perhaps a little bit too soon for Senesi maybe to start, but Senesi will be involved in some capacity. So I imagine Senesi will probably be used as a kind of defensive finisher option. We saw Mepham was at the beginning of last season, where to see out games sort of thing. But no, I think Mepham will probably keep his place for the City game. What happens afterwards, remains to be seen. If we get another Mepham masterclass, if he comes away from the Etihad with Haaland in his back pocket, then you never know what that could do for him in the standing in the squad. So yeah, it's a phenomenal performance from him against Villa. Hopefully he can continue that against City.
We don't know, Ahmed. Scott Parker might be playing games. We'll find out at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Jay, talk to us about some of the players then. We've talked about Haaland. We know some players have exit, the likes of Sterling. You've got Mahrez in there. Talk to us about Calvin Phillips, who's currently sitting on your bench on the opening day. And can we hear how Nathan Aké is doing? Because Bournemouth fans absolutely love him.
We'll speak about Calvin Phillips first. I'm probably expecting him to start on the bench again here. He's been brought in for squad rotation. So once September comes about, the Champions League's back up and running and we're playing every 3 to 4 days. Pep will rotate. He rotates 3 or 4 players every single game to keep the legs fresh. And that's when Calvin Phillips will come in use for Manchester City. And that is, of course, if we don't sell Bernardo Silva between now and the end of the transfer window, because there's not too long left of the window. I'm not too sure if we were to sell Bernardo, if we would replace him. And so with that in mind, there could be potential minutes for Calvin there. But I'm not expecting to see him start in this game. And I think the biggest problem that he's got in this squad is he's competing for Rodri's spot. And to me, Rodri's the best holding midfielder in the Premier League, arguably in the world. Pep Guardiola's got his system there, and his job is to sit in that hole, to cover the gaps and distribute that ball. With a player who's got 19, possibly even 95% pass completion rate, is just so good with the ball at his feet. And Pep Guardiola's system just revolves around defensive midfielders and being able to move that ball from defence to attack. And Rodri's just so good that Calvin Phillips is going to have to be patient if he wants to get regular minutes at City. But once we are up in the swing of things and Champions League's going and we're playing every 3 to 4 days, because it's a busy schedule between now and the start of the World Cup, there's plenty of starts and plenty of minutes there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Phillips can do, because I rate him. I think he's a quality player. My only concern I've got is his injury record. So I'm hoping he'll be over that and he'll be able to help the team out there. And it's always nice to have a homegrown player in our squad as well who can learn from the best in Pep and be able to adapt that and take that forward, and hopefully into the World Cup he'll be able to show everybody his quality on the international stage. For Nathan Aké, he got off to a bit of a slow start for us. There was quite a few fans questioning why he was at the club. He wasn't really offering anything to the team. He's got to compete with the likes of Aymeric Laporte, John Stones, Ruben Diaz. Just couldn't really see how he was going to get their minutes. And then just right towards the latter parts of last season, we had a little bit of a defensive injury crisis. There was injuries to Aymeric Laporte. There was injuries at times to John Stones and Ruben Diaz all at the same time. And so we needed somebody to really take the lead for us, and up stepped Nathan Aké. And he really showed why he was regarded as one of the best players that Bournemouth have had that he's come to our club. He played a game in the Champions League quarterfinals against Atletico Madrid. He was playing at left back, and he had an outstanding game. Every ball that came into the box, he was winning them headers. He pocketed Antoine Griezmann, and ever since then, his confidence has been so high that right now he's currently in the City squad. John Stones hasn't done pre-season with Manchester City due to he couldn't travel out to the United States of America. There's injuries to Aymeric Laporte. So right now, Nathan Aké has that centre-back partnership with Ruben Diaz, and for how well he's doing, John Stones and especially Aymeric Laporte, who plays on that left side of centre-back, they're going to really struggle to get back into that squad because he isn't putting a foot wrong. He's quick, he's good with his feet, he's good in the air, and he's now forming a really good partnership with Ruben Diaz at the back. And it's great to see. We spent a lot of money, 42 million pound, I think it was, that we brought him in for. And so he's been brought in to be fourth choice at Manchester City, and he's come in now and he's really settled down. And to me, he's one of the most improved players from last season, and he's taken that into this season as well. And I can't wait to see what he can do. We're currently not signed a senior left back as well, so there's plenty of minutes there for Nathan Aké.
Fantastic. Matt, a soft spot for Nathan Aké. I'm sure you're going to want to put a mention in there. We're not surprised how well he's done. And something that Pep Guardiola has at his disposal is these extra subs. And I think he used every single one. And when they're winning 2 or 3-0, he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, not just for his ability as a footballer, but as a person as well. I mean, his attitude, his commitment, the way he conducts himself on and off the field. He's got so many attributes, aside from the fact that he's a gifted centre half as a footballer, reads the game so well. We can talk about his ability as a footballer, but I like to talk about players' characters as well off the field and on the field. And, you know, he's got that in abundance. You know, the way he conducts himself, the ultimate professional. The man's just oozes class in every way, doesn't he, really? And but by far and away the best AFC Bournemouth player that I've ever seen pull on a Bournemouth shirt, I'd have to say, you know, at Premier League level. You know, we got obviously 42 million pound for him, which was great business for us. But, you know, the time we had him here at Bournemouth, it was a phenomenal time for us on the pitch. And no coincidence that Nathan Aké was part of that, because he was instrumental for us. He really was.
Ahmed, is there any weaknesses in that Man City defence, in that back line, that we can sneak through and take the lead in a shot first 7 minutes or anything like that? Have we got a chance?
I mean, yeah, there's always a chance, but weakness is a word that I probably wouldn't use when describing Man City's defence. But I think with Kiefer Moore, if he does start the next game, he poses not just a physical threat, but an all-rounded threat that I don't think City's defenders will have come up against too often at all. And that was something that was mentioned to me back in January when he was signed on deadline day. He was one of 5 deadline day signings. And a couple of them stuck out to me because it seemed like Bournemouth were very desperate to get over the line of promotion to get to the Premier League. But how many of these players were actually going to feature in the Premier League, when Bournemouth got there? And, Kiefer Moore proved me wrong. He proved everybody else who doubted him wrong in that. And I think he'll go on to prove a few other people and, pundits wrong as well come the end of the season. So I think he not just in terms of his aerial threat, because he can literally, I think I tweeted this out during the game on Saturday, but he could literally take the sun down on his chest. He's that sort of good when it comes to dealing with long balls. And he's just, it got to a point in the game where, City Villa centre-backs, just stood off him whenever the ball came to him because they knew they had no chance. And, City, Villa centre-backs are not, you've got Diego Carlos, who, seeing him up close and personal, is a very, very towering figure. And, if the likes of him are not willing to challenge more in the air, and he's also quite a dominant presser. I think he's just after the first week of Premier League football, per FBref stats, Kiefer Moore attempted the most pressures of all players in the Premier League in the first week, which is quite remarkable because you don't think of him as, stereotypically think of him as a target man, but he's got a decent turn of pace. He's comfortable with his feet as well. So I think Kiefer Moore will definitely ask a few questions of Man City's defence that I don't think they would have been asked before. I think that will probably catch them off guard. Hopefully, I should say.
Right. Jay, it's been brilliant to have you on. We hope you have a good game. Obviously, we hope you don't hurt us too much, but I'm going to get your score prediction off you in a minute. Very, very quickly, though. This was your lineup last Sunday, and we'll just drop that comment off the screen in a moment. How much different do you think that lineup could be come Saturday?
I think if there's going to be any bits of rotation, I imagine it'll probably come offensively rather than defensively. I'm expecting to see that back four from Manchester City. Potentially Gundogan out and Bernardo Silva in, particularly if we're expecting Bournemouth to sit a little bit deeper because Bernardo will be able to work around tricky spaces with just how good technically he is. From my own perspective, I'd probably go with İlkay Gundogan. I thought he had a really good game on Sunday, and I don't think he deserves to lose his place in the starting 11. Everyone is well rested, so I don't really see any point in making too many changes. We could make a change potentially in attack. It could be one of Foden or potentially I've gone mind blank there. It'd be Foden or Grealish potentially that may drop out for Riyad Mahrez if we want to go down that line. But other than that, we could see something that Pep Guardiola doesn't do very often, which would be to have an unchanged 11 from our previous game.
Wish you all the best for the season. Right, be nice, Jay. We need a score prediction out from you right now. So how are you feeling come 3 o'clock?
I've filmed before this my match preview, which I've done my score prediction. So I'm going to have to stick with what I've said in there, which is if City get off to a flying start and we can find that first goal in the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'm expecting it to be one-way traffic. Go easy on me with my score prediction, but I've gone 6-0 City.
Ooh. Okay. 6-0 City. Okay. We'll have to improve that on our scores, guys. All right. Jay, thanks very much for coming on. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much for having me on.
You later on in the season.
Best of luck for the season. Best of luck for the game as well.
Cheers, Jay.
See you in a bit.
Stay where you are for the moment, Jay. We have got plenty more to come. Second half of this show, we've got John backstage. We've got guest to player. We're going to talk about that presser. We're going to talk about the new signings. We're going to do the predicted 11 and your score prediction. Loads to come. Subscribe, like. Let's get on with the rest of the show. welcome Jon Spark to the second half of this show. He's going to be in Manchester on Saturday, I'm sure of that, and he's the king of Guess the Player, which are coming up very, very soon. How you doing, Jon?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's as an exile, it's quite a nice little hop on the metro for me most of the way in Manchester. So I'm not going to have to travel, thankfully, as much as the vast majority of fans, and I'm really looking forward to the game. I'm dreading it, but I am also really looking forward to it.
Okay, so some other news in Bournemouth. We know that we've just been drawn in the Carabao Cup against Norwich away again. Neto's been told this morning, keep it below 6 this time. So, yeah, if you go into that game, good luck, but it's another cup draw at Norwich. Also, channel news, it's August giveaways. If you're a monthly member or you've donated to the channel in August, you can be in with a chance to win a signed AFC Bournemouth football and a £10 gift card. If you're a monthly member, you're already in, you'll get 2 votes. Anyone donated, you'll get 1 vote. And if you want to be in for a chance to win this, you just need to go to buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army, make a donation or become a monthly member. And just to prove, there you go, guys. Look at that. It's got lots of players on there. So someone's got a chance
That's
of
good.
definitely winning that. Right. This is where, guys, we take a little bit of a break from the seriousness of the match preview to have a little bit of fun to guess the player. And to do that, we need to bring a little intro in. So get ready, get your thinking heads on. It's Guess the Player time. Okay, so Jon's currently the king of this. We've only tried it once. We did it last week, but I'm going to give you some clues one at a time. You're going to get 5 seconds to just guess, keep guessing, and just name the player. Now, the player is going to have a link to either Bournemouth or Man City, both clubs, or he's going to have an impact in a game between Bournemouth and Manchester City. Okay, so 1 clue, 5 seconds, then I'll give the next clue. Happy?
Yeah, do it.
Fantastic. Get involved in the chat as well if you think you know the player we're talking about. So the first clue is a defender. He's a defender.
Charlie Daniels.
And you know there's just one person who ruins it. Everyone else. And there you go. Matt is straight in with Charlie Daniels. He scored that goal, didn't he, against Manchester City. What a great goal it was. It could have ended up in the Kings Park Cafe, just to prove to you. Charlie Daniels. There it is. What a player. You got it right, Matt. You've taken the crown after 1 clue. These need to get a little bit harder. I did have played under Eddie Howe, left-footed, born in September 86, played in League One, Championship and Premier League, 5'10", scored against Manchester City, left back, previous clubs, Portsmouth and Leyton Orient. But thank you to Matt. He ruined it for everyone else.
Do you know what? After you said, well, it might be somebody who's had an impact in the game against Man City, and then when I thought Charlie Daniels, and then when you said he's a defender, I thought I'm going
Absolutely ruined it. But there we go.
Yeah.
This afternoon, though, Scott Parker had his press conference. He talked about getting ready for this game and how Bournemouth could go into this game and try and, show ourselves a little bit that we can perform and we can compete. He talked about the likes of Rothwell and Fredericks not being quite up to speed yet, still on the grass, but a few weeks away. Neto's come in as a backup goalkeeper and he's looking pretty sharp in training. I'm going to come to you, Ahmed, because he also talked about our new centre-back, 10 to 15 million all in for the money. It's Marcos Senesi. Rave reviews around the world for this player, and somehow we've snapped him up. And I know that you did a nice article on this, and tell us a little bit about Senesi, although Scott Parker doesn't think he'll start.
Yeah, no, he's Scott Parker described him as a South American, aggressive defender, and I think that probably is best explains part of him. Like you touched upon, I did a very detailed explainer on The Athletic, just a profile piece on him, what to expect. First thing to say is that he played in a back 2 or back 4 rather for Feyenoord last season in the Lloyd Kelly role on the left side of the centre back partnership, and he'll come in to play in the middle of the back 3 at Bournemouth. He's got this. I don't know how much of you guys have seen of him in terms of his clips, but he's got this quarterback-esque pass that he plays from like his own sort of defensive third, and obviously in the Eredivisie, the Dutch league, he's not going to be as pressing, not nearly as much, and he won't see not nearly as much of the ball as he saw last season with Bournemouth this season. But just to know that he has that in his locker and his ability to go direct, because Bournemouth are going to have to do away in most games with that elaborate short passing, sideways passing sort of patient football that we saw last season. It's going to have to be very direct, and I feel like Senesi, his distribution, his long passing is absolutely amazing for a centre back. To be fair, and you can see why the likes of Roma were reportedly in for him. Played in the Europa League conference final against Roma, and did a pretty good job against Senesi, against Tammy Abraham. And that was actually, from when I speak to people at the club, specifically around Bournemouth scouting department, they say that was the game that sort of made them sit up and take notice and be like, right, okay, we want to see this guy against Premier League level forwards, and not just Premier League level forwards, but forwards who are quick, forwards who are very athletic, forwards who, the kind of forwards you'd expect to come up against in the Premier League, just to know that he won't, struggle to acclimatise to the physical challenges that will come up in the Premier League. And, he's not the quickest defender, I think it's fair to say, but whenever Abraham wanted to go into a foot race with him, he'd just get into a position, shoulder to shoulder, get close enough, and have that nous to knock him off balance before he gets into full speed. And he's like, right, I know you want to do me for a foot race. I know you could probably do me in a foot race, but I'm going to get close enough to you to make sure you're not going to get at full speed. I'm going to make sure that if I knock you just as you're getting into your stride, I have a chance of getting that ball. And his ability to do that, and it's quite risky because you could walk the line, particularly if you're the last man. You can walk the line of potentially being sent off and being caught out and being made to look quite stupid. But he has that nous to go with an aggression. He's comfortable on the ball. He looks a real total package for Bournemouth, I'll be honest.
Matt, he might have been a little bit worried that when we were beating Villa 2-0, Meckham was playing out of his skin and Lerma settled in a back three, that we were going to retract the offer. But no, we needed a centre-back. We needed someone that could come in, be a confident starting player at the back in that 11 that we need. And look, you've seen the YouTube clips. It's a strong player. He's got that nickname, the Gladiator, and hopefully he can hit the ground running. But it is a different league and he might need a few games.
Yeah, I think so. It is a different league. He will take a little bit of time to adapt to it, I think. And I personally wouldn't play him on Saturday. He probably is fit enough to play, but I think to throw him in really at the deep end against Manchester City after the back three performed so well last week. I mean, who do you leave out of that? At whose expense, really? Because Chris Metham was absolutely outstanding. And I know we've talked about it already. But he's had a lot of stick, Chris Metham. Some of it unfair, really. He's been made a bit of a scapegoat for certain mistakes and errors that he's made, basically because he's tried to show bravery on the football as a centre half. But we all know that he's got a lot of ability, and we all know that he's a good defender. He's not a Wales international for no reason. He was absolutely phenomenal Saturday, as was Jeff Lerma, and as was Lloyd Kelly, and as was all of the back five, back six, including Mark Travers. So to disrupt that too much, I don't think would be the right thing. But having said that, yes, of course we needed a centre half. We needed to bolster the squad. We needed to bring in some quality. And on paper, it looks like we've done exactly that. Argentinian international, been at Feyenoord, comes with a great reputation. We've seen some of his clips, some of his background. Reading up on him, seeing what he can do. I think it's potentially a fantastic signing, maybe in the Nathan Aké mould. Who knows? Time will tell. But I still think we need maybe one more centre back as well if we are going to be deploying this back three or back five all season, and maybe arguably a left back as well to cover for Jordan Zamora, because I don't think the plan is to play Tavernier on the left side too much. He seems to revel in that number 8 role. So still a couple of players to add, but pleased with the business that we've done so far, I think.
Right. I like the player a lot. I really, really do. He's got lots of potential. He's got aggressiveness. But John, I'm coming to you with this question because I always throw a curveball. I don't think we will play a back three all season. I might be wrong, but while it's going well, we'll play it. But I can see us playing a back four at some stage as well, because I think we'll have too many attacking players and midfielders sat on the bench otherwise. Now, in a back three, I think it will work absolutely fine. In a back four, I'm worried about having two left-footed centre-backs. Now, that sounds really weird to some people. I've had discussions with football mates and we've had discussions in the chat. I know that you get two right-footed centre-backs, but two left-footed centre-backs feels a little bit unbalanced for me. You'll have three with Jordan Zamora. Am I bonkers, or have I got something in this?
No, I think you've just been tricked by the right-wing media. No, sorry, that should be right-footed media, shouldn't it? No, it's just a natural tendency because we're so used to just seeing a right footer at left centre back. It's just an inherent fact that there are more right-footed players than left-footed players that exist, and so because there is quite often a dearth of left-footed centre backs, you end up with two right footers. And when you have a player like Steve Cook that we played there for quite a long periods, who is very used to and brought up playing as a left centre back, quite comfortable playing on his left foot, and on both feet, obviously, really, but particularly for a right-footed centre back, was decent on his left foot. He was chosen more as the left-sided centre back. And last season when Chris Mepham was asked to play at left centre back, he wasn't very good at all. You could see how uncomfortable he was very, very quickly coming to try and turn onto his left side. He just didn't do it with any kind of comfort and looked very uncomfortable. Whereas as soon as you put Lloyd Kelly there, as soon as Steve Cook came in for those couple of games that he played, looked so much better and was able to spray the passes a lot more comfortably. I think that while I do think it's a little silly to say that I don't like two left-footed centre-backs, but I'm fine with two right-footed centre-backs. In either situation, you don't get it as good as if you have a left footer on the left and a right footer on the right. Particularly the way that Scott Parker utilised the back four last season, it was incredibly important that your centre-backs got it to the full-backs pretty quickly, and with a regularity. And in this system, your left centre back and your right centre back need to be able to ping passes up the line, whether to find the wing back or to get it long to probably Kiefer Moore to try and tee it down for Solanke or Tavernier. So I wouldn't expect him to play to Lloyd Kelly and Senesi as the two centre backs. I'd imagine he'd probably play Mepham, or if he brings someone else in to replace Mepham, he'd play Mepham there with Kelly or Senesi on the left. And I imagine you probably will see a back four against Norwich. And Senesi will probably get his first minutes against there, and you'll probably partner James Hill, and we'll probably see another 9 changes to the squad as well in that game. Probably play a back four, I'd imagine, because we'll expect to dominate the ball a bit more. But you've been sort of worrying about whether Parker's going to trick us all pre-season with this back three thing, and against against teams where we're probably going to have a more 50-50 game, like teams like Fulham, teams like Nottingham Forest, arguably let's say Southampton, maybe Brentford, those that are expected to contest further down the table, I could see us playing a back four where we're expected to dominate play more. But for the most part, I do see us sticking with this back three.
Ahmed, I do have to give you 1 minute on this. Have I got something in him being left-footed? I do wish he's right-footed, but I really do like the defender. But it's more about movement when we are sort of defending and they have to turn. Left-footers will always turn in a certain way and right-footers will do the same thing. But we're always remember it as two right-footers being okay, Tommy Elphick and Steve Cook. When do you ever see two left-footed? But John is right. There are more right-footers than left-footers.
Sure. I think when it comes to what preferred foot a centre-back partnership has, it's good to have the left-footed player on the left and the right-footed player on the right. Purely, this is going to sound really nerdy, so bear with me. Purely because of the passing angles. There we go.
Yeah.
How long did it take me to talk about passing angles? Not very long. Right. So basically, if you just close your eyes and you picture sort of, let's say, for example, Steve Cook as a left centre-back, being a right-footed player playing left centre-back, it's going to take him more time to shift the ball onto the left back. Rather with someone who is a left-footed player, say, for example, Lloyd Kelly, if he's playing the pass out to Zamora, he doesn't have to move very far. It's sort of in his stride already. And the sort of the angle that the pass will go is sort of out to in. And that behooves him to make that, for Zamora to make that progressive run to get to latch onto that. But it's easier for him to get onto that. And there's a bit more. So if for example, Lloyd Kelly overhits that pass down the touchline, it's okay because it probably won't go out of play because of the curve of the ball that he's hitting it at. But if Steve Cook were to play that pass, he would have to get it pretty much bang on for it not to get intercepted by an opposition player. And I think those are the sort of minute details you're talking about there. So for sure, I understand. Finally, you bring up 2 left-footed players in the back 4, because we had this conversation on Twitter about Ben Mee. And I thought that was a very, and then like a couple of days after he signed for Brentford, obviously, as those things tend to happen, right? I went back to the club, someone at the club, and I was like, look, I've been hearing a lot about this Ben Mee guy. I know he's at Brentford now, but were the club ever in for him? And the club actually did consider going for Ben Mee. The wages were affordable. It wasn't a financial issue, but they just thought playing in a more progressive system, Senesi's passing on the ball. You can see why they preferred Senesi over someone like Ben Mee, who's got that room to develop, and his passing level. He's come from a very ball dominant club in Feyenoord, and so his abilities on the ball, while Bournemouth are not going to have a lot of it this season, are very, very important to how Bournemouth build out from the back. And I think they were willing to, and also because they say, for example, Lloyd Kelly gets injured, Bournemouth don't have another left centre back in the squad. So it might not even be a case of them playing together. It might be a thing of, if Bournemouth want to go to a back 4, he's there. And just in terms of having being more well-rounded in your in the kind of defenders that you have, because last season when Bournemouth were without Lloyd Kelly, Chris Metham slotted into that left centre back role, and as John touched upon earlier, didn't do too well. Not because he's not a great defender, but because of those passing angles. When Bournemouth had a lot of the ball, and Lloyd Kelly was the tempo setter in that regard, so he saw a lot of the ball and couldn't do Lloyd Kelly things. Senesi can do Lloyd Kelly things, and he's left-footed, which helps. So I don't think you're I think that's pretty astute observation from yourself, if I can say that myself.
I'm going to drop it now. Just something to watch throughout the season. Amis put it perfectly. We'll clip it at some point. Right. It's time for us to step into Scott Parker's shoes, not putting on the cardigan. It's way too hot, or that suit jacket he was wearing on Saturday. But it's match prediction times. We're going to do the predicted 11 and no score predictions. Get involved in the interactive chat. We're going to predict the team for Saturday. On the screen, then, you will see the team that started on Saturday, and we're going to go through it tier on tier, and you let us know what you think as I ask the guests. And I'm going to come to Matt first, I think. Travers in goal, Mepham at the back there with Lerma and Lloyd Kelly. Do you expect that to change versus Manchester City?
Well, it's a difficult one. I mean, always with these predicted lineups, Kirk, it's what are we looking at? Is it our own personal opinion, or is it what we think Scott Parker will do?
What we think Scott Parker will do.
Because I'm always tempted to, very quickly, my own personal opinion is that I worry about our wing backs against Manchester City when we're up against a 4-3-3. Not only have we got Kyle Walker and Cancelo bombing on, but we've got Gundogan, De Bruyne, and then you've got Foden and Grealish potentially against our wing backs. How cruelly exposed could we leave them in the formation that we're about to deploy on Saturday? And Kirk, you were talking about a back 4 earlier, and I know, John, you were saying maybe we'll bring it out against some of the so-called lesser sides. For me, there is a case for a 4-5-1 here. I'm just throwing a curveball in. We probably won't go for it, but it does mean that it's a trade-off. We are going to have to sacrifice probably Kiefer Moore for Ryan Christie, because you're going to need 2 very hard-working wingers high up the pitch. One would be Ryan Christie, and one would be Tavernier on either side. But you've still got that sort of reassurance in the middle of Jeff Lerma sitting in front of the back 4, Ben Pearson and Philip Billing in front of him, with Dom Solanke up front on his own. You'd have to make sure that you got players extremely close to Dom, and the 3 would be Billing, Christie and Tavernier, and Mepham and Kelly at the back with Smith and Zamora as out-and-out fullbacks, because I just think we could get really cruelly exposed with this 3-5-2 or even 5-3-2 on Saturday, which is the reason that I personally would go 4-5-1. That's my opinion. It's probably not going to happen. So let's go with what Scott Parker might do. He might not. Let's assume it's going to be a back 3. Yeah, I would keep it as is then, because like we've said before, Lerma, Mepham and Kelly are outstanding. The whole of the back 5 was on Saturday. So there's no way, bearing in mind that they might not all be fit. Let's hope they are. If they are, then keep it as is, definitely.
Okay, these are not easy, Ahmed, because last season it was so easy at some points in the season to do the predicted 11. Now, I said if Senesi come in on Twitter, that Billing might pop out and Lerma pops in midfield with Pearson. Others were saying, and it's a good point, that Kiefer Moore might drop out. Let's get Solanke up top to run the channels and those off chances we get out. And then Billing still pays because actually he made a lot of interceptions. You've also got Lewis Cook we're talking about here, who's Mr. Relentless, and pretty much we can owe him our lives to getting in the Premier League. It's going to be so difficult. Looking at that midfield with the wing backs, do you see any change there on Saturday?
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion that Tavernier might end up playing left wing back. And this is because
this is going to get messy.
Yeah, it is. I was realizing I don't know how you're going to sort that, because I use that website to make the lineups for the game as well. When you move one player or when you do something wrong, it's quite difficult to anyway. So Tavernier, this is kind of something that came up in conversation when I was speaking about the clubs, why the club wanted to sign him, and the person I was speaking to kind of brought up this games against Man City or games where they're expected to have a lot less of the ball. Tavernier can kind of push up and because he's already used to playing as a midfielder, he can push up centrally, congest the midfield, and almost act as like a halfway between a wing back and a full back. And sort of, kind of particularly on that left hand side where we see, Riyad Mahrez if he plays, Foden, João Cancelo, maybe Kyle Walker, and just sort of stifle their approach play on that side. I think from what we saw against Aston Villa as well, Tavernier was all over the pitch. So I think he'll probably have a bit of a free roll as well. But I think on paper, it will look like he's playing at left wing back because I think he provides a lot more midfield nous than I think Zamora would do. Zamora is very much a guy who thrusts Bournemouth up the pitch with his forward running and his link-up play. But Bournemouth aren't really going to have much of that, and I think I'm going to have to stay focused. And I think Tavernier, for what the job of wing-back requires, and particularly with Smith on the upper side, who's not nearly as adventurous, they're going to need to hold fire a little bit, pick their moments to get forward. And Tavernier, when he knows the opportunity is there to get forward, we know how devastating he can be in open spaces. So I think because of Tavernier's sort of abilities to play in midfield, he's comfortable there. He can, cute little touches and give and goes to when they win the ball and to strike in transition. But yeah, I think that's probably where he'll start. With regards to the rest of the midfield, it's difficult. I'd like to say that stays the same because I think the back three will stay the same, which means Lerma stays where he is. Maybe Cook comes in for Pearson because Cook is probably, like, if I had to choose, this is a torrid task, but if I had to choose one player Man City would sign tomorrow, I think it would be Lewis Cook from Bournemouth because he just fits their mold so well. Particularly before they signed Calvin Phillips, they were lacking in that role with Fernandinho going out the door. Just generally, there is quite a lack of holding midfielders who are so comfortable winning the ball, and when they're on it, picking those passes, running those passes, it's almost like he's got eyes at the back of his head, Lewis Cook. So but like I say, Pearson's off-the-ball strengths do appeal a lot more in the Premier League than Cook's on-the-ball strengths because Bournemouth aren't going to have the ball as much. So there's that. But the only thing I can say with medium certainty is that, probably Tavernier at left wing back. But other than that, it's a toss-up, really.
Matt, just for your support, Paul Wright says, I think Matt was spot on with his selection. Makes so much sense.
Jonathan, here is your reminder. Ring my mum.
And John's trying to have some fun with the predicted 11 as well. I will wait for John to come in, but he can still hear me. So, John, we're gonna go with that selection as is so far. You can give your 1 minute opinion on it, but now Jordan Zamora is in the wrong position, so you need to replace him. Solanke and Kiefer Moore to stay. Is it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll bow to Ahmed's superior knowledge with regards to Tavernier at left wing back because I think I suppose that's the interesting thing there is I think the contest between how reliable is Tavernier necessarily defensively. I think he's very clearly an incredible player with a lot of talent, very good ball carrier, and someone that we can rely to carry the ball up the pitch and be aggressive on that side as well in a different way to the way that Zamora does. But it depends on what priority I think Parker might put in that position because it's funny actually. The Zamora sort of it was 2 seasons ago in the EFL Cup when we played Man City and lost 2-1, where it was the likes of Gamora and Offerball that actually sort of made me go, oh, hang on, wait a minute. These youngsters actually have a little bit about them, how comfortable they are on the ball, despite going up, even if it's a B team, the likes of Mahrez, Foden, and other great players at the time. If Tavernier is played in that left wing back role, there aren't too many players that we've got that necessarily perform it as well as he did if we stick with this kind of formation. I do think we'll stick with more because as much as I love Nathan Aké, he isn't tall for a centre-back. And if you can exploit any weakness, you should go for it. And whilst Aké is a phenomenal defender, there's only so much good jumping can make up for when you're going up against someone that's like, 8 inches taller than you? Or however much it is. So I do think more is a great option to use, and it may well be Tavernier's ability to put in a good cross, maybe significantly utilised on that left-hand side. Early crosses into the box to get more into those situations, and he can peel off to take advantage of probably Cancelo on the left, I'd imagine, and Ake at left wing back, which is probably the most vulnerable and exceptional defence in City is going to be. So I do think you can't not play Solanke, and you have to play more. In that position, could be Christie, could be Anthony.
Pick one then.
I think you lose something if it's Anthony. To be honest, I think one of the best chances, if he wasn't just still coming back from injury, would be Stanislas. I think my preferred choice there would be Stanislas, but I think the amount of defensive work they'll have to put in there, I think I'll probably go with Christie in that spot.
Not an easy task, but there we go. We've got our predicted 11 locked in for Manchester City, although Matt thinks we could go with a 4-5-1, a very realistic option. But there we go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments if you weren't able to join us live. Now it's your opportunity to get your score predictions in the chat. Should we say this is your opportunity? Let's get them in there. Time for those score predictions. This is your 1 minute warning. Let us know the score. Let's reset the chat and we'll show them on the screen in just a minute. But it's not just Bournemouth and Man City kicking off at the weekend for game week 2, guys. We've got more Premier League games. We've got... What have we got? Let's get prepared. We've got Aston Villa versus Everton on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. Southampton, Leeds, Arsenal, Leicester, Brighton take on Newcastle, Man City, Bournemouth, Wolves versus Fulham, Brentford against Manchester United, Nottingham Forest against West Ham, Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Crystal Palace. All big games in the Premier League, Ahmed.
Yeah, for sure. I got my eye on the lunchtime kickoff between Lampard and Gerrard. That's a tasty one there. I don't think they've ever faced off as managers before.
And a lot's been said from Gerrard's count, from camp, should I say, from the game on Saturday. And I'm not sure how this is going to go for Lampard this season. Yeah,
it's a little bit tricky when they don't have a striker. I think they played Iwobi in a false nine role, which kind of sums things up. I think the ball was in play in that match against Chelsea for around 55 minutes in total. So not a good watch.
Get those score prediction heads on then, guys, as I go through the chat, and then I'm coming straight to you. Donald's going for a 2-2. Fantastic. We've got Chris Hubble going for a draw. Very positive stuff here in the chat. 1-1. Sammy's also going for a 2-2. It's unlike Sammy to go for anything other than a 3-1 normally. So 2-2. Wings going for 2-0. Man City 3. Bournemouth 0. Man City 2. Bournemouth 1. Carroll's going for head 4-1. Hart 2-2. Rob's going. Hart says 2-2, but think we'll lose 4-1. Wings in there again for 2-0. Paul's going for 1-1. Mark 3-1. Great to see you on Saturday at Dean Court. Phillips going for 4-1. And any more coming through, I'll show them on the screen. Right, guys, I'm going to come to you, John, first. Head to head. Not won in 17 games versus Manchester City. They've won the last 11 games. Never got anything off them in the Premier League. 32 goals scored against us, and they've conceded only 7 in those 11 games. Score prediction, please, John.
Yeah, the only team we have never gotten a single point off in the Premier League, and as as the years have gone on, the gap has got bigger. Of course, first game I think we ever played with, or maybe one of the first games in the Premier League where there was 0 shots from an opposing team when we lost to them in our final season. Look, I think people are obviously putting a lot of faith in Haaland. I do absolutely believe that he will be an incredible goal scorer this season. However, his style of play requires there to be space behind for the ball to be put through. He can link up well, but he is much more of an old-fashioned, quite small number 9, ironically, for his size and strength. That was what both goals were against West Ham. It was played in behind by De Bruyne. So either you prevent the space in behind or you prevent the balls getting to him, which is incredibly difficult to do. And stopping Haaland is just going to leave space for De Bruyne to pick one out from 30 yards into the top corner or whoever else. It's so difficult to stop a team like this. And Bournemouth don't have a good record of doing that. We may have a much better defence now than we ever did last time we were in the Prem, but I'd love to be positive. I'd love to be positive and go 1-1, but I think it's probably going to be more like I'll go 3-1 loss and make it halfway respectable.
Okay, I'm going to put my score prediction out there. So look, we could hit them cold. Kiefer Moore could get 6 in 6, and we could take the lead inside 15 minutes. And I think we could lose 3-1, or I think we could have a 3-0 loss, but really work really hard and be competitive for large spells and maybe concede a few goals late on. But I want us to compete and just show our spirit and do a good job for the fans and show the rest of the league that we need to be taken seriously all season. Matt, we haven't scored in those 11 games more than 1 goal. Man City are likely to maybe score more than 1. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, look, we're not going to get our season's not going to hinge on what we do at the Etihad or Anfield, for that matter, or any of these games. This is a free hit for us. Let's be honest. I think the one thing to say is that we don't want it to be embarrassing. We don't want it to really come away with a massive confidence knock where we've been absolutely battered, 6 or 7, because that could damage us, the mentality, couldn't it? And it could damage us psychologically. So let's. Like I said at the start of the show, all I'm hopeful for and asking for is that we go there, we're organised, we're committed, we leave nothing out on that pitch. We're cohesive, we're communicative, and we give it our all. And whatever happens on the back of that happens. I mean, let's be honest, the golfing class is huge. We know that. We're not expected to get any. I'm not expecting us to get anything. But I stood there in the club bar last Saturday, and I was really negative, saying that my head says we're going to get beat 4-0 today, and my heart says maybe we can scrape a 1-1. So I'm going to go with the same, and I'm going to be positive because it is as simple as that. It is as simple as that, Kirk, isn't it? We could quite easily get slammed 4 or 5 or more, or we could put up a battling display, frustrate them for a long time, long periods of the game, nick something on the break through Dom Solanke, Kiefer Moore, whoever it might be. Who knows what could happen? So. Let's go. Let's be positive, like they have been in the chat. People like Paul and Sammy, and say 1-1.
Ahmed, we're going to get your score prediction now. I'm sure you're looking forward to the weekend. You told me before the show that you're really excited how the start of the season's gone. So, how are you feeling about Saturday? I'm sure you just want to see a good Bournemouth team perform well.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth will give a good account of themselves. Continue to prove people wrong, but I still think it will probably be beyond them in terms of the result. I'm flitting between a 2-1 or a 3-1 loss. I'd like to say a 3-1 that feels like a 2-1, like a last-minute goal from them, just to make it like, I thought it was 2-1. Or maybe, people left before they scored their third or whatever. But yeah, I'll probably say a 3-1 with a last-minute, sort of a 95th minute, just a stupid goal that he scored towards the end. Yeah, I think that'll probably be it. But Bournemouth will definitely. I would like to hope that Bournemouth, out of possession, show that they can, if they tweak a few things and maybe if Senesi starts, if he doesn't or whatever, I like to think Bournemouth will have some positives to come away from the game rather than thinking, right, that was bloody horrible. Wish that was over, sort of thing. Yeah, I think 3-1.
It's not about being negative. We have to be realistic at times, but we'll always be optimistic that Scott Parker and the team can do well on the day. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Join us in our journey. Also hit the like button on that video, on this video. I tell you what, let's put 50 likes minimum on there. There's the target. Hit the like button. Also, thank you to Aquashine Exteriors, our sponsors, And a big thank you to our monthly members. You can become a member at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army, or simply make a donation. Everything goes back into the channel and it helps us do what we're doing right now. Thank you, Jon. Been great to have you on. We'll have a match reaction from you after the game on Saturday at the Etihad. Enjoy your Friday.
Thank you very much. Yes, you'll see me again on that live on that first reaction straight after the game, and well, I mean, hopefully it won't be too bad.
No, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Matt, great to have you and your opinion, and we'll see if it's a back four or a back three on Saturday. And I think you're going as well. Have a safe journey.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, always a pleasure to be on. Good to see you as well, Ahmed, and thanks very much for coming on and devoting your time. Much appreciated. To everyone that's watching and subscribing and donating as well, many thanks. And see everybody on Saturday at the Etihad, and let's have a good day out, if nothing else.
Ahmed, always love listening to what you've got to say and reading your stuff. Have a good season. Have a good day on Saturday. I'm sure we'll speak to you soon. But thank you for coming on tonight. I know you're a very busy man.
Hey, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, guys. You know I love coming on here. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great weekend. And also to everyone who's joined us this evening or has watched this video back, thank you very much. Hit that like button, 50 likes minimum, and get yourself involved. The giveaway for August, donate to the channel or become a member. You might win a signed AFC Bournemouth ball. But it's Bet versus Scott on Saturday. Can Bournemouth take something away from Man City for the first time in the Premier League? We'll find out if you go into the game. Safe journeys. Get behind the lads. Let's see if we can do well. From me, Jon, Matt, and Ahmed, we'll see you on the next match preview. Cherries.
Love the cherries.